IVM.
Simblified is an IVM production, and if you like our show, you must also check out Shunya One, hosted by entrepreneur Shiladitya Mukhopadhyay. Every week, he, along with some esteemed guests, discuss headlines from the world of technology and business. New episodes out every Tuesday on ivmpodcast.com and the IVM Podcast app.
Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Simblified. This week we have for you our mini segment, our T20 edition, the Shorty.
Yes.
And what are we shortying this time? So when I was recently using Google Maps, I was wondering, hey, this is a pretty nifty technology, right? If you think about it, I mean, it's become so ubiquitous that we've stopped wondering.
Yeah.
How.
And you stopped asking for direction. Actually, I have stopped asking for direction since I was born, but I stopped getting lost because I was not asking for directions. So that's...
It would be disturbing if you asked for directions before you were born. Achha, here it's, okay, cool, okay, this way.
Let's not go there.
Very disturbing. So I was wondering, basically, how does Google Maps work? I always had in my head, it could be some vague notion that traffic data is collected by live mobile phone data, right? So that I always had in my head, but I really wanted to dig into this. So I've dug into this a little more, by which I mean I read 3 blogs about this. And it's quite interesting, actually. So Google Maps works with a number of various sources. So while mobile phone data is one of them, the base thing is they have a lot of map partners. And this is interesting. The map partners, they have something called a base map partner program, where they partner with people who actually go about collecting map data. So your local government agencies and things like that. And it's an entirely non-paid thing. So what is the benefit for somebody to submit their hard cartographed data over to Google? A lot of things, like it could improve navigation for a community, and this is what Google says: improve navigation for your community with new roads and housing developments, bike paths, etc., etc. You can update major landmarks, and if some stuff like that has changed, ensure accurate representation of critical infrastructure like hospitals, police station, airports, etc. So basically, Google is saying, hey, we are the largest distributor of your data. If you wanted to get out there, then give your data to us. That is basically what Google is saying.
But wouldn't that be like, I mean, I'm assuming even if a government is so inclined to share that data, or if any local bodies are inclined to, how does the data get there so fast?
So there is a process for uploading this data in certain format. It's actually extremely well structured. In a certain, it needs to be there in a certain format. It's vetted obviously by the team,
right,
and stuff like that. So there are. I mean, it's not very random. You can't go and vandalize it that easily as well. And most important, this is just one of the ways in which Google collects data. There are other ways as well. One of the more popularly known ways of late is Street View.
Yeah.
Where they basically have 360-degree cameras attached atop cars. And in the case of one random island, sheep, which we'll get into later. And they basically go about taking 360 photos day in and day out. And obviously some cities like in the West are have this more than in, say, some cities in India, which is why the maps there are super advanced to a level of knowing exactly the elevation of every building, or it gets updated a lot more frequently in that sense. They actually have very sophisticated technology for this, which I found very interesting. They have OCR technology, the optical character reader, erstwhile used by engineering college students to scan their seniors' dissertations so that they could just copy-paste the same thing into Microsoft Word.
Also OCR readers for multiple choice questions.
Multiple choice questions.
Color circle fully.
So these guys use OCRs to read signs, to update signs. So if a road name has changed or something like that, or if a shop name has changed, and to notice other new things, like if the same vehicle is traveling on the road after a period of a month, okay, this is the same as before, this is the same as before, this wasn't there before, so that gets updated in maps. So it's things like that.
So is this manual or is it machine?
It's machine led. It's machine
led.
Yeah,
amazing.
It's machine led, and as this has also led to some extent indoor navigation as well, which is why a few museums and stuff have this. There are some very interesting things that Google does for checks and stuff like that. So these are 2. So one is map submission, one is Street View, and the third is, of course, satellites.
Yeah.
Which is then cross-checked with the data that they have from Street View. So it's a combination of many things together that gets it up. Apart
And
from
that
this,
is the cleverness of Google.
and it is the cleverness
combining all
and
of
scale
these.
scale of Google. Not to mention now where the users come in. So users help Google update maps in two ways. One is, of course, by traffic data. Historically, Google knows that Western Express Highway is going to be crammed on weekdays from this time to this time, purely because so many Android phones or phones running maps or other Google software.
Density of...
Density, exactly. So it can predict and all that and show real time and stuff like that. That's one way. And the second way is, of course, the good old Samaritan contributions of people to Google. Hey, this store doesn't exist anymore, or this is a new store, this is a new name of this store or restaurant or whatever it is. So with all this combined and all the smart chaps sitting in California, this is basically how Google Maps works.
Yeah, so
really.
I mean, I subscribe to, there is this option of being part of the guides program of Google Maps.
Yeah.
Which basically what they do is they ask some very simple multiple choice questions to you. Like, is this, so if you go to a particular place, it will detect that you've been there, and then we're like, does this place have parking? Is this a good place for a sit-down meal? Is this place so expensive? Like, it'll ask you like about 3 or 4 multiple choice questions. And if there are even, say, 5% of the people who are responding to these questions, or even 2% of people, that makes it enough for them to get a good idea of what that place is about, right?
And one of the biggest reasons for Google Maps' success is that it was actually one of the earliest softwares to be embeddable on other sites and other apps through what is called an API. An API is basically something that, think of it as something that handshakes between one app, allowing it to be integrated into another app almost seamlessly, which is why you have the Google Maps working perfectly within an Uber or within a Swiggy or something like this. Basically, Google selling their technology, leasing their technology out to these companies. And that ubiquity and that usage, plus, of course, the huge amounts of money that's coming in, is really what's helping Google Maps grow. One thing I remember reading somewhere, I don't remember exactly where, sometimes to prevent theft of maps or something, I remember reading this somewhere. Google sometimes, when it sends out map data, sometimes it deliberately puts in a typo or something. So they know that, and they'll put in a very obscure place that they know nobody's going to search for. So if they see that same error replicated somewhere else, they know that that data has been copied. It's that same equivalent of that Van Halen M&M's story. If you don't know what we're talking about, then that's another episode. That is basically it in terms of how Google Maps operates. But then along the way, I came across some fascinating trivia, which I thought I'd share with you guys. What is Where To Technologies?
Where to?
Where to?
You predict where someone is going, or
No, this is the name of a company.
Okay.
It's not like
Okay.
Okay. Google Maps began as a C++ desktop program designed by two guys at Where To Technologies. In 2004,
so
this
Where To Technology started it.
Yes. So this was a company that was acquired by Google back in October 2004, which then converted it into a web application. And what is fascinating is in 2005 February, the product manager of Google Maps wrote a lovely little... It's sometimes fun to go back in time and see what the first review of the iPhone was or something. This is, and I'm just quoting, this is the small post that he put up. We think maps in small m, can be useful and fun. So we've designed Google Maps, capital M, to simplify how to get from point A to point B. Say you're looking for hotels near LAX, Los Angeles Airport. With Google Maps, you'll be able to see nearby hotels, etc., etc. Click and drag the map or get step-by-step instructions, play with keyboard shortcuts, etc. I'll embed the link of this blog post. But it's so cool to see this, like almost 15 years back, the first iteration of this, and at that point of time they probably didn't even think that it's going to be as big, widely used as it is today. So many people often wonder, is Maps free? And such a great, amazing software, satellites sending into space, how can it be free? The thing is, it's not free for everybody. It's free for you and I to use. There is a paid version. There are certain features also that needs a lot of payment. And one of those super premium things is asset tracking. So when I say asset tracking, when you see on Swiggy, your delivery guy is only 14 minutes away, 10 minutes, that is basically asset tracking. And that can be used from a consumer-facing point of view, like how Swiggy
that's
does.
a paid API then.
Yeah, that's a paid API, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Or it can be used for internal tracking. I'm guessing somebody like a DHL or something like this would use it to track
it
it.
will be really
where-
valuable. Yeah. Any logistics-based company.
Absolutely. And the prices, there are various prices for this. Like the standard version for is free up to 25,000 map loads per day. So I think that's the way they measure it. And then after that is 50 cents per 1,000 additional map loads, up to 100,000 map loads overall daily. And then it goes on increasing exponentially after that. So some more trivia then. In 2012, 7,100 people were working on Google Maps. How many were working on the disaster that was Apple Maps at the same time?
10 times, right?
100.
Oh.
Yeah, so 7,000 people less were working on
Wow.
Apple Maps.
But the design was perfect.
The design was perfect. Okay.
Didn't work
There
that
is
far,
this. There is a city or town, I guess, called SZCZECIN in Poland.
Okay.
What is there in this
Yeah.
place that's related to Google Maps?
Word salad.
Sure. There's a giant Google Maps red marker monument. That thing. Yeah.
The location pin.
Yeah. A Google Maps for the International Space Station exists. Yeah. And there apparently was a monopoly Google Maps version floating around at some point in time on the internet. I couldn't find it anywhere.
Wow.
Hoping that somebody archived it or something, but couldn't find it. How much information do you think Google Maps has? This is an interesting one.
The size or the what is the metric?
Terabytes.
Bytes.
Bytes, size.
Rajnikant would have said petabytes. No, what are that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you got the unit right. It's 20 petabytes. 1 petabyte is 1,000 TB. So, yeah. 20 into 1,000 TB. 20,000 TB. Yeah. Okay, and this is extremely cool. When Google Maps loads, it always starts from somewhere in the US. And then it navigates to where you are. That is not a random decision. What is that original location? It doesn't just say US as a whole. It's not the geographical center of the US either.
It's the Googleplex in Palo Alto.
Close.
It's
Something in Napa, California.
It's actually the point of the childhood home of one of the developers. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's, Medbrook Apartments in Lawrence.
Yeah,
apparently.
and on a completely unrelated and definitely not Easter egg manner, whenever you load the Ola Maps app, it always starts from some road in Baipanhalli in Bangalore.
Yes, yes.
It always starts from there and navigates to Bombay. It's some random place in the middle of nowhere.
Which probably doesn't have Ola. Anyway, this next fact is purely from the fact that I spent about half my life in this country, Bahrain. Bahrain's government banned Google Earth because it allowed Bahraini citizens to see vast tracts of royal-owned land and their palaces next to poor and overcrowded Shiite villages.
Wow.
Yeah, so...
Particularly bad.
Yeah,
Another really cool the Google Maps fact is that if you try and put so Google Maps has directions, right? So you can track this thing. If you try and put directions between like improbable locations, like can I find directions from India to say China or Japan? And what they do is I think now they've changed it. Now they have the flight option, fly there.
Fly to.
Before that, they used to have only the land option. So it'll take you right to the coast. It'll give you directions right to the edge of the coast. And then afterwards, some dude would say, kayak your way to China now. And then continue the directions from China.
Although there are still some Google Map Easter eggs. And just a quick search will help you find them. Like, I think if you still search for Mordor or something and add one or two more, like you need to add a couple more of those Game of Thrones, I was going to say, low tier references, then it'll tell you.
You blasphemer.
Yeah, I haven't seen both. Okay. The height at which high-res city imagery is taken, what do you think it is?
100 feet.
No, it's 800 to 1,500 feet, actually. That's 243 to 458 meters for those of you who think the right way. And the traffic routing functionality apparently saves everybody 2 years.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's pretty much about it, actually. And I have no jokes about
It is a
Google
lot
Maps,
less
which,
creepy than Facebook actually. Both yeah.
You never know.
It's my favorite evil
If
corporation.
if you want creepy, then just search for your location history.
Oh my God.
And Facebook doesn't hold a candle to it. No, Facebook knowing that you're a neurotic liberal is nothing compared to Google
Knowing where you are a neurotic liberal.
How often are you a neurotic liberal as well?
All right, so that's about it with this shorty. So think about this every time you use Google Maps again. It's a fascinating piece of technology. If you haven't downloaded it already, for whatever reason, why have you downloaded a podcast app over Google Maps? But anyway, continue using both. Bye-bye.
As you can see, we have a podcast listener in his natural habitat. Millions of years of evolution have led him to this point. He's on his way to work, and listening to podcasts makes his miserable day better. He will now head to work and use all his knowledge to communicate with other colleagues and possibly future mates. You can find more of his species on ivmpodcasts.com, your one-stop destination where you can check out all the coolest Indian podcasts. Happy listening.